and some of us are still celebrating at home. So some of you might be watching this on the replay. And I am telling you that you are in for a real treat tonight. We are so excited to be back with you for another edition of Celebrate Your Success Sundays. And I am your grateful realtor. I'm also the co-host, co-founder, and co-creator of this show. And we are doing this for the love of real estate. Why? Because we love homes, we love people, and we love the difference that we make in the world. We are on a mission to sell a minimum of 1 million homes in my lifetime to eradicate domestic violence. And we cannot possibly do it without the amazing help of extraordinary people, where each week we have incredible guest speakers. Why? Why do these guest speakers come here? They come here because this is the place where top professionals go to learn, earn, give, and grow. And we have people coming to the door. So this place is, I'm watching as the registration is showing up, and Ronnie might not realize that I need his help letting people in. So Fiona and I might be doing that while simultaneously kicking it back to our guest speaker. We have the COO of Mr. Michael Arato of Captain Permit. Hello, how are you this evening?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. How's everybody?
Well,
good. You're good. Karen, how are you?
Karen
her mic is off.
She might be with her son.
Who else is here?
Actually, she knows people from Long Island. She's actually going to enjoy this show. She's originally from Long Island. I'm sorry, she's not originally from Long Island. She's from Brooklyn, New York, but she was here just a few weeks ago having dinner in Long Island. She's a flight attendant. Woo! Hey, Karen, what's going on, girl? Uh-oh, she might be on mute. That's okay.
She is.
She's like, whatever.
Sorry, nice to see you guys. Just trying to do a zillion things, but I don't want to forget to tune into your show.
What the? Oh, I love it. She's here every week and she shares, she flies around. We also have a teacher here. We have a teacher and we have one of my SUNY New Paltz graduates, alumni, super excited. And then we have the one, the only Ronald Reagan, not the one you know, the one you don't know yet. Oh, someone else is registering. Why? Because he's behind the scenes and he's supporting the show and we're excited. So I want to start by asking you if you have any questions, because you registered for a reason. So if you have any questions about permits, about violations, about how to legalize a house, about how to make sure it's sellable, how to make sure that you don't have a horror house, meaning a house that can't be sold, that can't be lived in, nobody wants to buy, I want you to drop them in the chat while I start to get to know the one, the only, what do we call yourself on Instagram? The original?
Real Captain Permit.
The real Captain Permit. Like, will the real Slim Shady please stand up? Please stand up. Yeah, so the real Captain Permit is in the house. So I'd like to start by asking you, how did you get into all of this? Like, you haven't been doing this very long. So where did this come from?
No, it literally, I was doing foreclosure real estate for 12 years, managing an office. And firm kind of went out of business and I was looking to get into real estate in some capacity. And then I just so happened to stumble across, I think it was on Indeed, and I applied for the position. I met Charles, didn't really know much about it, but he was doing what I wanted to do, or at least get into. And I said, oh, you know what, like this would be a good way to kind of get a little exposure. And then it ended up turning into this, which is now like, you know, we're rocking and rolling with Captain Permit. So it's interesting how, you know, the path life leads you, you know, you go to do something and it doesn't always work out, but I'm actually in real estate now and I'm learning both sides of it because I'm seeing him every day. And then I'm dealing with the permits on the other end, and I'm dealing with agents and investors and homeowners on a daily basis.
Wow. So you were with a company that went out of business dealing with foreclosures and short sales, and now you're in the business, from what I'm understanding, to maybe you didn't realize this, but you might be preventing foreclosures and short sales by making sure they're legalizing the houses so that they don't.
Yeah, to an extent. Yeah, we worked for a law firm where we represented the banks. So we represented the lenders and the investors. We were their attorneys in foreclosure actions.
Okay.
And so that firm ended up going out of business after 12 years.
Wow.
And then I got into this line of work now.
Wow. And so you got into this line of work, you applied for this job on Indeed. And was it originally Captain Permit or did you start with Handsome Home Buyer? Like what was that?
It wasn't even, it just was a position. It was at a managerial position, Long Island office. I had no idea it was real estate or anything. I
Hmm.
literally went in totally blind. He told me who he was. He told me what he was doing. And, he kind of described it to me. And I was like, yeah, like I'd be interested in learning this. Like, let's do it. And then we've been doing it.
Wow. Okay. So you didn't, for some reason, I thought you guys knew each other beforehand. This was a position on Indeed that apparently he wrote such a good description that you were attracted to it, applied, and then like and became managerial, and then now the chief operating officer. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. He pretty much just said, like the ball, like just take the ball, run with it after you kind of learn it. I'm going to teach you. And then just kind of be, he's just going to kind of be in the background and just do what you have to do to make it work. Pretty
Okay.
much.
Okay. So now you guys are busy. Like I feel like I mean, when you're not working, I know you spend time working out. What is that? How many hours a week do you work out? Just curious estimate.
I mean, anywhere from like at least 10, probably about 10 hours a week.
10 hours a week, guys. Who here works out 10 hours a week? That's like crazy. That's amazing. Amazing. And I know you like to listen to certain types of music. I mean, just so you know who we're dealing with here, we're not just dealing with this regular boring dude that does permits and violations and, helps legalize houses. He's kind of cool. And, you listen to a certain type of music. What's your favorite kind of music?
Mostly like rock and roll, like heavy metal, but I can listen to pretty much anything, but that's pretty much my go-to.
Okay, rock and roll, heavy metal. All right. And so, we're talking about the love of real estate. And I'd like to know if we're going to talk about you're busy, and you still manage to, get your workouts in, eat pretty clean and healthy during the week. I've caught you a few times, either food shopping or meal prepping, which is amazing. Most guys are living like bachelors and you're like, nope, cooking at home. I got this. Um, what does a day in the life of, Michael Arato look like, when working as the COO of Captain Permit? Like, what do you do?
Well, I mean, we start at 8, so every day we're in the office at 8. We kind of have like meetings every morning going over like what's going on, what jobs are we doing, what's going on like in the industry with regards to like new rules that may be coming out, or now you can see like materials are really hard to get, or new legislation that may be passing. Because even though we just do permits, like we still got to know what's going on in the real estate world, because like investors call us like, hey, I'm going to purchase this property, and like what's going on, like we want to do a subdivision, and can it be done? So we would say, well, like this is what you're going to need in Suffolk County, and legislation's passing like this coming July. You're going to have a new legislation and new requirements in Suffolk, with all new builds have to have possibly have these new AI septic systems. So like nobody really knows about this yet, but that's going to be brand new. And if you have like a 5-bedroom house, or let's say you have a 4-bedroom house now, and you're saying, hey, over the summer, we want to do a dormer, or we want to add a bedroom, or we want to do a garage conversion, add living space. Well, now you're turning your 4 into a 5. The Suffolk County is going to review your property and say, is your septic right now capable of handling? And if it's not, you need to put in these new AI systems. So Friday, I met with a company on Long Island that actually makes them, and I went and visited the whole plant. I met the owner, saw how they're built. He told me like all the guidelines, the gallons, like it's 110 gallons per bedroom. He told me like all the requirements that the town's going to require. And then he also said, there's a grant out there that pretty much washes it. So the systems are like 20 grand, right?
Wow.
So I mean, let's say you're a builder and you're like, oh, this is something I did not account for, right? Another $20,000 in septic.
Yep.
You can apply for this grant. It'll come through eventually, so you'll get it on the back end, but at least it's there. Or let's say you're an agent and you're like, oh, I'm going to sell this home. And this person did a whole bunch of work and they turned this little cottage with no CO into a monster, and they never updated the septic. Well, now when you go to do plans and try to get your CO, they're going to call you out and say, hey, you got a shoddy septic system here and you got a ton of bedrooms. It's a possibility you're going to have to update this septic system. So at least now, like, hey, Michael told me this could be a problem. Like, let's get all hands on deck. Let's figure out what kind of financial, like how much funds these people have. Can we even do this? How long is this going to take? Do we need to renegotiate this deal? Because it's a huge undertaking,
Yeah. Wow.
So, I mean, that's just one of the things. I mean, this just popped up the 2 weeks ago, we found out about this, so it's just, there's always things going on that we have to, like, we'll always meet, we'll talk about, so we can always keep people like up to date as to what's going on out there.
Well, and I think that's what's really impressive about you and about Charles is that you're meeting and you're up to date on what's going on in the market. So you have meetings daily to discuss like how, what does that look like? Because I think a lot of people just think, oh, I could do this on my own. Maybe they'll just use a specific contractor or a specific person to do things. Why? Like, how often are you studying what's going on in the market? Where are you looking? Like, tell us about those meetings and what you're discussing.
We just kind of see what's going on mostly Long Island, because that's pretty much what we deal. We just deal in Nassau and Suffolk. Well, we do Captain Permit. So, we're always just trying to see what's going on there. If there's any rules going on in the villages, if the certain municipalities are changing code for certain structures, whether it be regards to basements, whether it be regards to, egress windows, which like most of, all of the agents know about that now, like what it is, what's the requirements. But again, that's just something we always have to hammer home to everyone. Like, there's just a lot of, let's say you go into a house that's been totally renovated and their bedrooms are all redone, new sheetrock throughout the whole house, insulation, but they put the same size windows back in and those windows aren't egressable in the bedrooms. Well, now every habitable room, once you do more than 50% of work to a home, those bedrooms that are in that house have to have an egressable window.
Wow.
Not like a rollout. You could just do a casement, like a double hung. As long as it's 5.7 square foot of openable area, you're okay. But again, you see these you see these investors go in, they do the job, they just want to get in and get out. And most of the time they do, but the times when they get busted with a stop work order, then it's like, oh, what do you do? Well, we got to submit plans, we got to do everything. And they're going to see these windows aren't to code anymore. And now you got to change them.
Wow.
Everyone's like, oh, what? Like, we didn't know about this. And the same thing with agents. Like, no, it's fine. They're brand new windows. Well, they may be brand new windows, but they're not code anymore. Because 2020 code is egress windows and habitable spaces on new construction. So you got to be aware of that. I can't hear you if you're talking.
And how often, by the way,
Now I can. Yes, okay. I can hear you.
Well, this is so strange because there's actually a knock at my door. Like, no one ever knocks on my door, and I live in an apartment building and someone's knocking at my door. I'm like, what is going on? Apparently somebody needs me. I don't know what's happening. So hopefully they'll come back later because apparently they don't realize that I'm on a live show. I don't know who you are, but that's odd. I was like, what? Yeah, I was going to take everybody to the door, but I figured maybe they'll just come back because I didn't have an appointment to somebody to come to my house at 8:19 at night. So sorry. I guess if it's an emergency, they'll keep knocking. But going back to, so what do we do? What percentage do you think of people have you seen are actually making these mistakes where like they're building, like these developers are building houses and they're not up to code? Would you say it's like 50%, 30%, 70%?
Yeah, probably like 50 or more. Because they just don't know,
50?
They're going in and they're just going in there and they're cleaning it up. They're like, oh, we're just going to do rehab, but the problem lies is that it's up to the town to distinguish, how much percentage did you go over? Like, how much did you do in the house? And it's up to that plans examiner. So he may look at it and I may say, oh, you know what? It was only, 40%. And they're going to say, no, it's over 50. We're calling it over 50. And this is what you have to deal with. And at there, your hands are tied. Like you can't fight them like that, especially when it's that tight. You know, if we're like, hey, we just did the first floor and we can prove we only did the first floor, then that's different. And there's no habitable space, like no bedrooms down there, that's fine. But when you start doing the upstairs, downstairs, the basement, and then they start combining, they're going to say, hey, you know what, like you did a lot of work to this home. We're calling it more than 50%. So now you're just pretty much your beat.
Wow. And someone's asking a question. What could happen if after you do the work and they find out months later? That's a great question. Actually, that was the similar question on my mind. And I'm going to let you answer that. I'm just going to take the phone to no, they're gone. So I guess they're good. And I guess we've discovered that I need to put a sign on my door that we have a live recording in progress. So going forward, people don't come in at 8 o'clock. But what could happen if you do the work and they find out months later? This is a very valid question. What happens?
All right, so basically that's what usually happens. I mean, you as an agent, you know, like you walk into a house, you're like, oh, this house is beautiful. You guys did so much work. It's great. You're just going to market. Everyone's going to love it. You know, you guys put a lot of money into it. It's going to help with the resale value. It's fine if you do it, the thing. So what basically there's two types of work you can do. You can either do proposed type work, which means you're proposing to do these renovations, or you do a maintain, which is what happens when you do the work and you legalizing it later. So it's called a maintain. Now you're going to maintain the work that you did. Understand like the differences?
Yep.
So when you do work to a house, you're going to maintain it. So the only time you really have to, I mean, you have to worry all the time, but the biggest issues are when you did work years ago, right? And now we're in 2021 and we're legalizing it in 2021. Well, you got to meet 2021. You got to meet 2020 code. There's no 2021 code. It's 2020 code right now. So you got to bring it up to today's standards.
Crazy.
So if you built something back in, let's call it the 90s, and you never filed a permit, you never did anything with the town to let the town know it was built, which basically is filing a permit, you got to meet today's codes to it. So it's got to be built to today's standards. So that could be strapping, that could be hurricane strapping up in the roof rafters. You know, like it could get pricey because now that wasn't called for back then. But then after even you think about the Superstorm Sandy, what it did, and then they changed regulations on that.
Yep.
So it could get messy, but most of the time, we can figure it out and we can figure workarounds for you and say, you could just do this and, you can tie this in and, strap it this way, or, not that it's going to be, free, but it's going to be a cheaper solution. We'll figure out something for you to do.
Well, and you definitely do have solutions. And you definitely do know you are always coming up with solutions. I've consulted with you. I've consulted with Charles about some things. And I really appreciate the knowledge that you provide us. And while I might know as an agent specific things, I'm not studying in the way you guys are day in and day out, because we sell the houses. We don't study all the pieces. We don't have time. That's why we're a team. We have you on this end.
Oh, of course.
And yeah, you only do Nassau and Suffolk per se, but the information is super valuable. Oh yeah, that Wi-Fi connection again. Maybe my dad used to sell real estate, I think in the early 80s. And that's my dad for everyone watching. And he sold real estate when the interest rates were like at 16%. I mean, that was, I'm sure, ridiculously fun. I know. 16 crazy percent, something of the sorts. Yeah. So if you're looking at real estate now, you're like, oh, I'm going to wait for the rates to get lower, or they could not, and they could get higher like that. But going back to, I mean, even Ronnie, he lives in Mississippi right now, and he actually put a message in the chat: heavy thunderstorms. Hopefully don't lose power if I'll get back ASAP if it happens. About 1 in 20 storms. What does that mean? Hold on, you're on mute.
Meaning you lose powers, I think 1 in every 20 storms.
That's what he means?
Yes, that's what I mean.
I think, I don't know.
You means if you lose power on 1 out of every 20 storms?
Yes.
Oh, yes, you guys speak each other's language. I'm like, I have no idea. This is like But I mean, and right there, like a perfect example. We're having this conversation. He can interpret what's going on, and I'm like, I don't know whatever that means. So, and
Well,
going back to like what you do, if let's just say I decided, Mike, like I don't want to go to your company. I want to try to do all this work on my own. Are there people that do that?
Yeah, but you're only going to get so far because you're going to need an architect, to draw architectural plans for you. So unless you have one, you're not, you're going to get to a point where you're not going to move forward, if you don't
Exactly.
know the process. Because depending on what you built, like let's say you built,
Uh-oh, we lost him.
back.
Oh, hold on, wait. I think you just went on mute.
is it
There we
good?
go. Yeah, we're good. Yeah. So go ahead.
I don't know
What
what
were you gonna say? And I asked this question because I think there might be people out there. Maybe I can do this on my own. I don't need you. Like I'm good. So I'm trying to figure out like if someone decided to do this on their own, it's possible, but where would they get stuck?
They would get stuck. I mean, they'll probably get stuck with the town because they're just not going to know how to deal with them. They're not going to have the time to like take off of work to go back and forth to the town to fill out all the paperwork, to figure out I need a licensed plumber. Where do I get a licensed plumber from? Who's going to sign off on all this work? Or, a licensed electrician that's willing to put his license on the line for all the work you did. Or, a general contractor to finish up the work who's actually licensed in the town, or, in Suffolk County, Nassau County, then if they're in like a specific village, they need to be licensed in that village. So you need to like know who you can call to get that done. And I mean, if you're working, 8 to 6 every day, good luck. Like it's not easy. And then figuring out, is the structure even legal? I mean, there's so many structures that are built that just aren't even done right. I can't, you could tell you like 90% of the decks we get to legalize are not built properly.
Wow.
And then if the structure is not built properly and the setbacks and stuff aren't proper, then you have to go for a variance. Then you got to get the file set up for a variance. And most people do not like going in front of the zoning board to deal with that. So
And you do
that's
that too.
another issue that arises.
And
But
you do that too?
we can, yeah, we go to the zoning board if we have to. If it's
Wow.
going to be like a really tough case, or if the person just can't make it, if they, like a lot of people are selling their homes now and they're moving out of state. So they'll sell their house, they'll put money in escrow, they'll hire us, we'll do the job, and then we find out that, hey, you know what, like lot coverage is too much, or setbacks aren't right, and now you got to go for a variance or rip it down. And they're like, well, we sold the house as is, or we sold the house with this specific structure, and it was a selling point and they really want it, so we have to go for the variance. And they're in North Carolina, or they're in Florida, or they're on the West Coast, and they're not flying back to go to the variance. And we'll have to go. If they can't get like a family member or a friend to go on their behalf, then they'll say, hey, listen, we're going to hire you, and you're going to represent us, and at the zoning board.
Wow. Okay. So these are all, these are all components. And when I was asking this question earlier, it wasn't because I didn't think that you do amazing work. It was more because I want people to hear this, because it's kind of like, oh yeah, you can totally sell your house on your own. Of course you could. Like you do
Yeah.
not need to have a realtor. Like you could totally do it on your own. As a matter of fact, I sold my ex-boyfriend's house for him in I don't know. When did before I got into real estate? Maybe 15 years ago. And I interviewed 3 realtors, and then I copied. So I thought everything that they were doing so that I could successfully sell it. And I did. And then years later, when I got into the business, I was like, I have some really bad news. And he's like, what? We thought we did a good job. I did a bad job. I like gave him all these updates. Once I had my license, about all the mistakes I made, like nothing illegal because I didn't need a license. I was just a person. I left
Yeah.
money on the table. Like I could have done things differently. And so, but I had some free time over the summer. I was like, hey, let me try it out.
You sold my house in one open house, one day.
I did sell your house when I was licensed in one day in one open house. And that was, wow, that was an adventure. And there were people running to the office wanting to demand to have money delivered to me on the side to take their offer. Like, hey, can you take this money under the table because it's better than the offer you have, in all different languages and all different styles. And I'm like, I don't do that. Sorry. We had to like close down the doors. Like literally I had to get like escorted out the side because they were chasing me. They wanted the house. So I'm sure we're going back to you because thank you, Ronnie. I do appreciate that. You know, you're talking about all these people and I'm now realizing, man, I wish, and I know you only do Nassau and Suffolk right now, but it's interesting, like just to think, because I'm in Queens. And the other day when I was talking about a potential contractor and it was like, oh, over there, no. Oh, no, we don't do that. And I'm like, wow, it's just like so much easier to go to Captain Permit because you've got everything. You've got the plumber, the electrician, you've got you've got the contractor, you've got the, I mean, anything, probably handyman, like who just will do random things, probably to get rid of, how do you call this? I've seen Charles walk into houses that should be condemned, right? Like, and they're just gross. And you have people to handle everything, right? Like everything that would from start to finish.
For the most part, yeah, we have like some general contractors. We're just starting to kind of deal with that. But the two main things that people always need is like a licensed plumber and a licensed electrician. A lot of the times, homeowners have like general contractors that they use, or a lot of the times the homeowners are general contractors. The people who do a lot of work to their homes are usually general contractors, and that's why they do it. And they know they do it. Like they know it when they call me. They'll tell me like, dude, this is going to be a shit show. I did a ton of work to the house. I'm going to do whatever it takes to fix it. I just need you to legalize it because I want to sell it because of how like hot the market is. And we want to get out of New York, you know? And so we'll walk in and we're just like, dude, like this is a monster, like this is crazy. Like, what did you do here? And they just laugh. And I'm like, don't worry, like whatever it is, we'll fix it. I'll get my guys here. You know, I have a license, or I'll get a buddy that has a license and we'll get this done. But a lot of them don't always have a licensed plumber and a licensed electrician. Those two seem to be the hardest to find because they have to be licensed in everywhere. Like if they're Nassau County, they got to be like North Hempstead, regular Hempstead, the Villages, Oyster Bay. Like you can't just have a license in Nassau and you're covered throughout. These guys need to be licensed in each town as well.
And you have,
so that's the hard thing. We have guys that are licensed across. Like we have 2 or 3 guys that we work with, and they have a license everywhere in all the counties and all the townships. And if they don't, they have a buddy that is, and they're like, "Oh, don't worry about it, we'll take care of it." But they're usually it's 100%. Like it's usually these 2 or 3 guys, they got it covered no matter what. It's rare that they ever have to sub something out to like a friend or like their cousin or their brother. These 3 guys normally take care of, like, I've never had any problems. But the general contractors, we're just kind of getting into that, like subbing, like kind of introducing that to our clients. Cause you know, we do so much and there's so many moving parts that you kind of, when you start getting involved with general contractors, you kind of open yourself up for a little bit of exposure if something goes awry, especially with a build. You know, if I say, hey, I'm going to do plans for you and we're going to do, you know, whatever, a dormer here, or we're going to do an extension, and I'm going to give you the GC and I'm going to give you the plumber and the electrician. And if the GC messes up, they're going to be like, fucking Captain Permit gave me this GC. He sucked. He built this extension. I hate it. Never use them again. You're like, there's so much that we have to take care of that we're kind of like, hey, you know, like that's a huge part that we, you know, we do it out of courtesy, we would, but I tell people straight up, listen, you have to understand, I'm giving you this person, you have to feel them out yourself. You have to look at their portfolio, make sure you're 100% comfortable with them. I'm only doing this like out of courtesy for you because you said you asked. And they're usually understanding when you're upfront with them. Like I don't push business on people, except I tell them like, I'll stand behind what we do. Anything else, I tell them you're dealing directly with this person. You're paying them directly. I'm not making a cut. I don't need any of the money. I don't want any of the money. Here's the guy's number. I'll put you guys in contact. I'll definitely, obviously, talk to them while you're, you know, at work or whatever you're doing. I'll deal with the electrician. I'll deal with the plumber for you. but no, when it comes time to pay them, you're going to pay them directly. You're not paying me to pay them. Like, so they know there's nothing under the table. Like, we're 100%, like, we're honest with them. I'm not making a cut off these guys. All we make is what we, our services, we actually provide. That's what we get paid for.
Okay.
And everyone's usually like, really like receptive, and they understand it, and they appreciate like the honesty, and usually everyone's cool. Same thing with surveys. We get surveys done. People need surveys. We use a survey company, and because we don't draw surveys, you need a surveyor to do that. And I tell people, hey, I'm gonna get a quote for you. I'm gonna CC you. They're gonna bill you directly. You're gonna be on all the emails, so you can see all the back and forths. Again, because it's just, there's so, I mean, the deal, there's so many moving parts with a deal, that it's the same thing with permits. Like, there's so much paperwork, there's so much plans, there's so many like different certifications that you need, that you just can't you can't take it all on. You have to sub it out, and they have to understand, listen, these people that I'm hiring for you, they're hired for you, and you're going to deal with them, but we're going to take care of it for you. Like, we're going to handle it, we're going to manage it for you. Just understand that, if this company drops the ball, it's not, it's not us. We're helping you out, and you need a survey, I'll get you a survey, I'll get you a good price on the survey. But understand, it's not a Captain Permit survey.
Okay. But that's actually a good thing to think about, because I know some, we have people here that some are local. And then there's people, because I know that there's people who have messaged me through Facebook saying that they're watching this now and they're not here, but they're watching, they're at work, and they appreciate what you're sharing. So thank you for that. I think it's really important to know that how open and honest you are, and also that you're accessible. I've experienced it myself, and I want to make sure that people do know, I guess, when would be, I guess, number one. You're laughing.
We're too accessible. People hit us up constantly.
I
All
know.
hours of the day.
All
night,
hours.
2 a.m, I get emails.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's fine, because we deal with all sorts of people. So like, when investors, I mean, granted, there's sometimes where I don't get to the message, because it's like, I do need to sleep, but we do try to respond as quickly as we can. Facebook, Instagram, emails, phone calls, because we understand the business. Like, we understand, like, you guys, everyone's trying to make money, everyone's got timelines, people are borrowing money, people are borrowing hard money, and they want to know, like, hey, what's going on, what can I do, what are some workarounds, how can we save some money? So I try to respond as quickly as I can, especially on my downtime. But we're very accessible, like social media. I mean, you see our presence, and I tell that to people too when they hire us. Like, oh, I'm looking into this other expediter. I'm like, who is it? Like, who are they? What are they offering? Like, how can you access them? Do they have a website? Do they have Instagram? They're like, oh, I don't know, I found them like through someone who told me. He's like, and I don't know. And I'm like, well, just so you know, like, you can always get us. Like, we're not going anywhere. We're not going to take your money and run. Like, we're on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, you can get us. We have a website. Like, we're not going anywhere. Whereas some of these other expediters, you can't even find them. They may have a web page, or they have an email address, and that's it. But we're out there, like, and we're always doing stuff on social media. So it's easy to get us. It's easy to find us.
It is easy to find you. And actually, I was just hearing a horror story about someone. Her name is Brittany Faith Turner, and she does tons of real estate investments, and she had people disappear after making it. Was like the contractor gave tons of money, and the contractor disappeared. And so it is, there's a reason why you have become Long Island's #1 firm, for this exact reason. Like, you are available for legalization of homes, for permits, for certificate of occupancies, for violations, for whatever people need in Long Island. You're able to service them. And I wish we could duplicate you to other states, and that might have to, like, maybe that's something down there. Is that something you guys consider, or no? Are you only going to be doing Nassau and Suffolk?
It's only Nassau, Suffolk. A lot of the other states, it's not as strict as New York. Like, you can build pretty easy in other states. That's why, like, we picked this business up here in New York. I mean, plus we're here, but like, that's why there is a demand for it, because New York is strict. Like, they want permits for everything, so it's, we've thought about it, but we're just not there yet. Like, we're still just kind of working with New York. That's where Charles is. That's where, the demand is. So that's where we're staying.
Mm. Well, and yeah, there is definitely demand for sure. And there is definitely a need for you to stay here. So definitely don't take your attention away from here. It's just, I'm thinking potentially duplicating your honesty, or just maybe your training. Cause I do know that you have YouTube. So if you're not, there are videos that I know Handsome Homebuyer does videos. Do you also do training videos, or not yet?
No, not yet, but we're going to start doing that when I find some more time in the day.
Find some more time in the day. I love it. Okay, when you find some, maybe you could just do them while you're working out. Like, you could just hold the put like a selfie stick, and you could just be like this, and then just start teaching them about what to do. Does that not work? I feel like you might enjoy that. You'll just be like having like music going, and then you'll just teach them about some things. I mean, I would totally watch that. I think that people would just be like, wow, that's multitasking at its finest. I I used to did you know I did a cooking show during the pandemic?
No, I didn't.
Oh, guys, I don't know, when it comes up on what is that called? The memories? I will definitely tag you in one. I did not cook.
Yeah.
I did not cook. I started cooking in November. I never cooked in my life, like more than like 4 ingredients until November of 2021. Like, seriously, November of 2020, excuse me. But I had this really cool oven, and the meals would come prepared, and I would stick the meal prepared with all the ingredients. I'd mix it together, the 4 ingredients, the like whatever, the meat, the vegetable, put it in the thing, and it's a special oven. You leave it there for 14 minutes, and it puts it all together. Then you eat. It's like a perfect serving size instead of me chopping up all the things I want to put together. So I didn't really actually cook, but I called it a cooking show. And while I waited for the 14 minutes, I was like, all right, so now I got 14 minutes. What do we do? And I just started talking about real estate, and people were writing real estate questions because they were so interested in the fact that I was cooking, because everyone knew I didn't cook. So they're like, is she cooking again? What she took? Fiona's like, yeah, she totally did this. And so then people would just, I would be like, ask whatever questions you want. And then people would ask questions about real estate. And they also started asking questions about my dating life, which got really interesting. And so, but people would be really engaged. I think if you were at the gym and you started doing some fun video, I feel like they'd be, interested, because you're just human. That's why I started with, I mean, there's no secret that I have a cat. And that's something that comes with the territory. So I just feel like if you were looking for extra time, just even while you're driving to the gym, you could stick a little, the stick.
Yeah, like the camera. Yeah.
Yeah. And then on the way to the gym, be like, I want to tell you what's going on in the market right now. Here's what we discussed this week. Here's what's going on with violations, permits, certificate of occupancies. This is what my day looked like, coming at you live. I have a whole channel I used to do called Adventures in Door Knocking. I just didn't have a way to monetize, but you could Google me. I almost want to say, don't do that, guys, because it's really awful. But I was just talking to talk. I had no outcome. I was just kind of like out there, like teaching people about the art of door knocking, because I'm an award-winning door knocker. But I didn't have at the end, in real estate, I am. And I didn't have an end game of like, oh, meet me here to do a thing. But if you were driving to the gym and you said, and find me here to do a thing, or click on a thing, or come to a thing, I totally think people would do that. And Fiona's all about it. Guys, if you're watching this live, or you're obviously watching this live or on the replay, let us know if you would watch a video of Mr. Michael Joseph, Mr. Michael Arato at the gym, on his way to the gym, teaching about real estate and violations and permits and answering questions. We got a thumbs up. We've got a dancing cat. I think there's more people coming in the chat in a moment. We got another thumbs up. He's like, uh-oh, I think we got to do it. And we also, you missed all the fun of cooking it from scratch. No kidding. I did. I had a lot of more free time though. Excuse me. I have one more question here. I want to get this, and I think that this is a great question. Then I'm also going to ask you how we contact you and what's next for you. So we'll get to that in a second. But how can you stop from being ripped off from a contractor?
I mean, you have to kind of, I would say, realize who you're getting involved with, kind of see how often they work, check out their work, who they deal with, find out who they're working with to get you permits. A lot of contractors don't get people permits. So like the person who asks the question, are they on or are they just watching?
No,
Like,
they're
are they
on.
actually part of it?
They're on.
They're what?
Yeah, they're here.
So who was it? Oh, it was you?
Yes.
It's the Ronald Reagan.
Yeah. So what you really want to do is kind of just, you're not in New York anymore, right? No. So they don't require permits where you live, right? Do you know if they do or they don't?
I have no idea.
Yeah. So what you really want to do is kind of see who they work with, see their work, kind of see their turnaround, how quickly it took them to build something in the past. And just, you kind of Google them, see if there's any bad reports out on them. It's, contractors are tricky. You really have to see their prior work and see how much work they've done. And again, ask them who's their architect, like who's doing the plans for you, who's coming up with this, and shop around a little. If they're coming in real cheap, they're probably garbage, and that's why they're coming in so cheap. See if they're licensed. That's another big thing. If they're not licensed, it's sometimes there's a reason. They might not be a big operation, but the best thing to do is definitely check out, see their prior work, even drive around, say, hey, what house did you do in the area, and go look at it. See what it looks like.
Maybe knock on the door, talk to the homeowners.
I'm sorry, what?
Knock on the door, talk to the homeowners, see their experience.
I mean, I don't know if I would do that, but you could. I mean, listen, it's like anything, if you're getting something, putting a lot of money into something, especially your home where you live, you really got to do a little background on who you're hiring. Don't just don't take the first person your finger lands on, and say, oh, I'm going with them because you know what, they were $5,000 cheaper than the other guy. Well, there's might be a reason why they're $5,000 or $10,000 cheaper than the other guy, because they don't know what they're doing, or they're not that good. I mean, we come across work that, it's people make mistakes. It's just, it happens, like it's just, and it could be the best guy. It's sometimes they read something wrong or they frame something out wrong. And, it turns into a nightmare, so you really have to see who you're dealing with.
Okay.
But are you having current issues now, or are you just?
Yeah.
Now, in my past house, I wanted a wall to put like a window frame around it so I can see through from the living room to the kitchen. I had 3 contractors come by and had bids from 10,000 down to 3,000. It was like 3,000, 8,000, 10,000. And I just picked the guy in the middle. I pulled around and they said he's done pretty good work.
And how did it work out for you?
It worked out good.
All right. Yeah. I mean, you really just have to kind of just do your homework a little bit. I think a lot of homeowners get, they try to find the cheapest way out. And, we even deal with it. People will call me and say, hey, how much can you do this for? And I give them a price and they're like, well, I called somebody before and they said they can do it for this amount. And I said, well, what are they offering you? What are they doing for you? Are they going to the township for you? Are they dropping the paperwork off? Are they doing all your paperwork for you? And, they're like, oh, I don't know. I didn't ask those questions. And then, what happens? We get a call back 3 months later. Hey, remember we spoke? I need to hire you. I'm like, why? What happened? Oh, that guy I hired is MIA. He took half my money and I don't know where he went. And I'm like, that's why I say, like, where you can find us, like we're not going anywhere. If something happens, like we're here. We can't hide. We're not like an independent where, you have an email address and a phone number and you find these people, and then they go MIA on you because they're on vacation for 2-3 weeks and they didn't tell you they were going on vacation. And now you're sitting here like, half your side of your house is open and you need it fixed,
Yes.
or you're going to sale and your agent's like, hey, what the hell is going on with that architect you hired or that expediting company that you hired to get these permits? We're looking to close and, we haven't heard from them in over a month. And everyone's going crazy. So that's the difference when you kind of, not that we're, expensive, but, you have to know what you're getting and then question why is someone coming in so cheap?
Well, and I can say you definitely get what you pay for.
Yep.
And I
I think your
see
Wi-Fi, somebody's
I
Wi-Fi is,
experience maybe it's mine. That's why my dad's here again, because apparently the Wi-Fi just is a little, this is a hack in case
Now
you
it's
didn't
good.
know that if the Wi-Fi is spotty, you hide your, when you hide your screen, it uses less bandwidth. And I think the Wi-Fi, it's raining here. I don't know if that means the Wi-Fi is a little spotty. So, this is 2020 where you think at this point it's 2021 where you would think the Wi-Fi would be a little better, but I don't know what's going on. So we are actually, hold on, there we go, better now. But I wanted to say, I experienced that firsthand. And so you actually brought up something that I think I want to make sure people have, maybe you might be able to put this together for us. You said there were specific questions that, and I almost feel like that we should be asking our contractor, or we should be asking our plumber or electrician to make sure that they have someone like you working with them. And so I don't know, do you have that? I'm sure it's like it just flowed off the top of your tongue or whatever. Do you have a list of like questions that maybe you could put together for us, and then we can include them on the Celebrate Your Success page for when someone's going to interview a contractor and they need a lot of work to get done, that we have a list of questions they should ask. And if the answers come up with like, let's just say no, or they're not acceptable, or if they want to give the answers to you and you're like, okay, here's what, these 5 things are not okay. We need to come in and make a difference.
Yeah. I mean, your biggest thing, honestly, is are they getting permits or not? I mean, that should be anything. I mean, the deal from you being an agent, you'd call me up and say, hey, like, I got this house and this guy's got stuff all over the place. Like, he's got a monster garage in the back. He's got a deck, a pool. He's got a pergola. He's got, brand new AC units. He's got a gorgeous, like, 4-piece bathroom upstairs. Definitely probably wasn't here when this house was built. What do I do? Like, I don't think he has permits for any of this stuff. So it's kind of like, permits should be grabbed in the beginning, because when you go to sell, when you're going to try to sell the house, this stuff is not a fast process. It's not like you can go to the town and it's over in a week. This is like months, and you have to hope that everything's built right. Because if something's not built right, then it needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
And it's just more of like, here's your, the typical scenario. I'm selling my house. I want to get out of New York, or I inherited the house, which is like those are the hardest ones, because there's usually, it came from the parents. The people who are trying to sell it have no money to fix it because they're trying to still hang on to their own house, pay the bills. And now they got their parents' house or their family member's house that they're trying to keep alive and not go into foreclosure. And they're like, what? We got to pay how much money? And we need plans and permits. And then we have to fix what? Like, the basement's ceiling height's too low. What do we do? Rip the whole basement apart, or put an egress window down there because it's only one way out? Like, and they're just like, well, my father did all this work, or my mother did all this work, and they never did it with permits. So it makes the whole process a nightmare. Literally a horror house, like what we put in the link. Like, that's what it is. And it would make everyone's life easier, including the homeowners, if they got the stuff done up front, and it's proper. So when it goes to sale, whether it be, the next year or 10, 20 years down the road, they know, hey, I'm going to list my house and I got nothing to worry about. I'm not going to have to leave money on the table. I'm not going to, throw money in escrow, $20,000, $30,000 in escrow, and then hope I get it back. Hope the new homeowner plays ball and the attorneys don't try to do some shady shit, like there's no need for it. Like there's processes in place that can be done and make everybody's life easier. But people try to skate around it. Oh, no, let's just sell the house as is. But like this, the biggest one, they say, oh, we're going to sell the house as is, but they want the pool. I said, well, you're not selling the house as is. Because it's selling it as is, you're taking it. You're not legalizing the pool. You know what I mean? We get that all the time where agents like, oh, we put a deal together. I'm like, okay, what's the deal? They're taking the house as is. They just want the pool legalized. I said, you can't do that. You can't just legalize one structure, because once the town comes in and sees your survey, they're going to call out the pool, the deck, the shed, the extension you have off the back. Oh, well, no, none of that's in the contract. We don't care. That's not how it works. You can't make up your own rules. If you're selling the house as is, you're selling it as is, and there's no exceptions. There's no, oh, we got to legalize just the pool. You're selling it as is. You're buying it with all these structures, and no one's going to the town. That's selling it as is.
Okay.
Because once you start the process, you have to finish it. And it's like you're opening Pandora's box once you start with one structure.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and it's interesting because you bring up some very valuable points that a lot of people probably don't even think about. They don't even realize that they need to have this information together. They need to have this, like, oh, maybe they having their parents or their grandparents now just go and try to find their paperwork. Like I remember when I became a realtor, the first thing they said to us was, go ask your family to show all their paperwork. And if they don't have it, like as a joke, they were like, most of them don't even have permits on their own house. And I started asking around, and people were getting annoyed with me. They're like, don't ask me questions. You're probably going to know something's wrong with my house. I'm like, I'm not selling it. I know you're not moving, but I just think like it might be a good idea for us to know what's up. Because if you do sell it, like down the road, you want to have it all together. So how would, if let's just say people start to, because sometimes it's obvious, like, if there's a lot of work done, but then there's like a minor thing. Oh, I'm not sure. Is this possible? So how can people reach you? And what's the best way to contact you? And who are you looking to meet right now? Like how do they contact you? Uh-oh, we're spotty again. Are we back? Uh-oh, now Michael's spotty. I think, is it raining by him? He's frozen. Is it just me?
So there are thunderstorms. I'm live. Michael's frozen, and you got your picture.
This is fantastic. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Let's see. This is great.
Right,
We are live. Hold on. Oh, maybe he's coming back. I mean, that would be good if he came back, since, it is something. I was interviewing him, but as we wait for Michael Arato to come back, we are wrapping up here. We are at Celebrate Your Success Sundays. For the love of real estate, we are actually figuring out how can we make sure that we stay in touch with this man, because he is knowledgeable. He works his butt off. He knows his ish. I'm not going to drop S-bombs or F-bombs, even though they do drop from time to time. But I think this is, there are some kids that might be watching live or on the replay. And I want you to know that he's available and he's here to answer your questions. And even if he hopefully does come back, and I want you to know that each week we do have a different speaker. Next week, we're actually going to be featuring an attorney. We're going to be talking about real estate. We're going to have real estate questions and answers, anything you want about the selling or buying of a home. And if you are watching the show and you say, wow, I have value to add in my neck of the woods, I know someone who would be perfect for this show. Maybe they're a financial advisor. Maybe they're an attorney. Maybe they're an accountant. Maybe they're a tax strategist. Or maybe they're someone that deals with relationships. Maybe not just a real estate attorney, a divorce attorney, or a divorce coach, or a relationship coach. Or maybe there's someone who does feng shui, someone that's going to help. Or maybe there's someone who does hemp, or there's someone who is here to make the homeschooling process a little better. If you want us to come to your, okay, that's interesting. He's trying to come back in. He just re-registered. There we go. We're back. Excellent. And we have Our speaker is back. As you're, I think, hold on, we get him back in. Oh,
Yes.
we're back. What happened over there?
I don't know what the hell happened. My phone just like rebooted on its own. I had to totally log back in.
Oh, it's fantastic. I was like,
Sorry about that. So yeah, so what I know where you were going with your question. So what you would do is you would file a FOIL with the town, all right, and you would go put the property address in, and then you ask the town to come back and say, hey, show me what's legal and what's not legal on this property.
Oh,
And then what the town will do is say, hey, this is what we have. There's a CO for the initial structure. It'll give you the dimensions, and then it'll, like, let's say there's an attached garage, it'll say like with attached garage or with detached garage or no garage at all. And then all the other items that were legalized will have their own certificate of existing use or an actual CO, or there'll be open permits. So then you'll know, like, oh, well, you know what, back in the 70s, they did file these permits. So if you have open permits, you can get those permits closed out. So what you would do is call the town and say, hey, I have an open permit for whatever, a pool or a deck, and how do I go about closing this out? And they'll say, okay, they'll look it up and they'll go back as far as they can to say, okay, well, back in the 70s, this is what happened. We got the plans, you got the permit, we did initial inspection, or they didn't do an initial inspection at all, or they did final inspection, all they gotta do is pay the permit. Or, you know what, they just got the permit and that's it. So now you need, initial inspection, you're gonna need, if it has electric, you need an electrical certification. You won't need a licensed electrician. And then if there's plumbing there, then you say, okay, then you need to hire a licensed plumber to pull a plumbing permit. But let's just say something real basic like a deck, right? No electric on it, no nothing. It's just a regular deck that comes off the back of the house, nothing on it, and there's an open permit. You would call the town and say, hey, I have this open permit from whatever year, here's the permit number. What do we do to fix this? And they'll say, okay, this is what we see was done back then. It's gonna cost you X amount of money to reopen this, and we're gonna send an inspector out, inspect it, the inspector inspects it, he signs off, here's the CO, boom, you're done. If there's no permit, then you have to start from scratch, plans, the whole nine. And when you maintain stuff, again, depending on what's there, either you need a licensed electrician, or you just need an electrical cert, or a plumber.
now, can't they just go to you and you do all that?
They could, yeah, no, they could. But
Because I'm
saying,
like, wow, that's a lot of work. If I owned a
No.
house in Nassau or Suffolk, I would not do any of that because, I mean, think about what we're all managing right now, folks. We're managing how to make sure that in the middle of any meeting, you don't get kicked out. And it might be like a very important meeting, right? Or it could just be like a family birthday party. And on top of that, you're also managing homeschooling, home teaching, home working, home exercising. Maybe you go to the gym, but you got to keep your masks on depending on where you're located. And then you're trying to figure out, okay, there for a certain amount of time, or is there capacity rules and who's going to freak out and who your temperature didn't up, anything else a little crazy. And then, but there's all those extra components, and you don't want to be on top of that when you're trying to make a move because you're getting married, you're going through a divorce, you're downsizing, you're relocating, you're selling maybe because somebody passed away, or you're retiring. You don't want to have to do all of those steps because it's just too much. It's so much that it makes me want to sneeze. Like straight up, I'm going to sneeze in the middle of this. As I'm talking, it was going to come out, but it's not because I spoke about it. So, oh my gosh, I've never sneezed on any of these shows. I've never had my guests disappear in the middle of talking. So we have like quite the show tonight. Like literally, I was like, I don't know who's coming back. I'm like, that's fantastic. So that, for the love of real estate, we were here in the midst of all of that and you still get it done. So, but if people want to contact you, and how do people reach out to you? If they're like, hey, I'm in Nassau County, I'm in Suffolk County, or I live in Florida, or I live in New Jersey, but I've got friends and family, or Brooklyn, or what your services, what's the best way to reach you?
the best way is just to call us. So it's 516-513-8838. And then if they want, they can shoot me an email. It's info@captainpermit.com.
Okay, can you say that one more time?
It's
The number and the
info.
email.
The number is 516-513-8838. And then the email is info, captainpermit.com.
Gotcha. Perfect. And who do you want, like, if your phone could ring from anyone in the world tomorrow, what would be the best referral to send you?
It could be anyone. Any referral is good. We don't
Any
really,
referral is good. So
any referral is good. Homeowner, investor, a broker wants to call me and says, hey, we want you to come in and speak to all our agents, kind of, inform them as to what's going on, how we can like help this process, how we can help homeowners, how we can help just the industry understand this process. So when our agents are out in the field, they know what to look for. They know we can call you. We know we can like rely on you guys to help us get the deal done. I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, we all have to work together. Like that's how that's the best way to make money. Like we have to work as a team. Like you guys do what you do, we do what we do. And in the end of the day, you're going to get the deal done and we're going to get it done for you as well. Like we're going to get the permits for you and you're going to close on the houses. Like it's that simple. Like that's,
yeah,
that's what we do.
it is that simple. We all do need to work together. And I want to say thank you for working together with us to give all of this information. We've got a classroom teacher that I worked with for 3 years when I was in Astoria teaching. I don't know if you knew that I taught 7th grade math many
Yeah,
months
maybe
ago.
you're telling me.
Yeah, so she very informative and very grateful to be here that she got an invite for tonight and giving you an awesome job acknowledgement over there. I just want you to know. And I learned a lot because even though I've been in the business of real estate for 13 years, there's so much I don't know. And just hearing that long list in this foil, I'm like, stop right now. Like none of that. I don't want any part of that. If I had a home in Nassau or Suffolk County, I would just make sure that I gave it to you, gave you the address, had you check it all up, and I could do what I do. Because you're not going to go and get your hair colored by your mechanic, and you're not going to get your glasses done by the person who does your nails, because they won't look as good as my hair, my glasses, or my nails. So I am just letting you know we're grateful for you. And we just appreciate you. And if there's any final that you want to leave us with tonight before we say goodbye, we're getting a round of applause for you too. Any final that you want to leave us with about Captain Permit, any insight, any ideas, anything to keep their mind strong? What would you say?
I would just say, do your homework before you sell your house, and any questions, just come to us and we'll take care of it.
Smart. Do your homework before you sell your house. As a former classroom teacher, I am a big fan of that response. Do your homework before you sell your house. We've got another former classroom teacher who just hopped off, but gave you a thumbs up on that too. This is your grateful realtor. This is also the co-founder of Sellerbrate Your Success, Arato Siegel, and we are very grateful to have you and Michael Arato from Captain Permit coming at you live in your home for Mother's Day, or wherever you find this. Give your mom or your loved one the gift of not a horror house, but a dream house on Mother's Day and on every day. We will be live back again next Sunday, and we are signing off, not forever and just for now. Hope you guys have a fabulous night.